What if the people meant to protect you were the ones destroying everything? This is what happens when unchecked power meets absolute corruption. Welcome to The Boys, where the heroes are the real villains, and the only thing standing in their way is a group of morally compromised maniacs with nothing to lose. With the upcoming Season 5, it's time to review what we've seen so far from Seasons 1 to 4. From every betrayal, body count, and crazy twist that got us to the brink of superhero dictatorship. Buckle up, for this isn't a superhero story. In a world where superheroes exist and are even marketed as celebrities, there's a top team called the Seven. Located in New York, their team includes icons like Homelander and Queen Maeve. After stopping a robbery, they even have time to pose for photos. But encountering superheroes, or supes as they call them, isn't always a starstruck moment. Hughie Campbell's ordinary life as a tech guy for an electronics store shatters when A-Train accidentally obliterates Hughie's girlfriend, Robin, during a high-speed run. However, A-Train is a part of the Seven, the peak of heroes under the company of Vought. To avoid backlash from the incident, Vought claims it happened during a heroic chase and offers a settlement of $45,000 and an NDA. Rejecting this, Hughie wrestles with grief and rage. This is when Billy Butcher enters. He's a cynical, foul-mouthed man with a vendetta against supes. Claiming to be an FBI agent, he approaches Hughie. Butcher brings him to a club where Hughie learns there's more to supes than what the public knows. There, Butcher shows Hughie a video footage of A-Train laughing about Robin's death. Despite this, Hughie refuses to help Butcher. In Des Moines, Iowa, rising superhero Annie January, aka Starlight, works hard to achieve her dream. With her sincerity, power to convert electricity, and the retirement of the Supe, lamplighter, Annie soon receives her dream call to join the Seven. But once in New York, Annie meets one of the Seven, Deep, who can communicate with fish. Deep abuses his power by pressuring her into a disturbing compromise to keep her spot in the team. The experience leaves her sick. Seeing the recruit like this, Queen Maeve advises Starlight not to let anyone see her like that. One day, Annie and Hughie cross paths in a park. Disillusioned with their heroes, they talk a bit about their problems and motivate one another. Hughie's interaction with Annie changes him, and he finally agrees to help Butcher plant a bug in the Seven Tower. Though awkward, Hughie manages to pull it off. However, he unknowingly triggers the suspicion of one of the Seven, Translucent. This supe has a carbon metamaterial skin that can bend light, making him turn invisible and even indestructible. Finding the bug, Translucent follows Hughie back to his workplace and attacks him. Butcher saves Hughie, and they manage to neutralize and catch Translucent. While all this unfolds, Vought's VP of Hero Management and the Seven's shady representative, Madeline Stillwell, plays political chess to expand Supe control over the military. When she offers their company's services to the mayor of Baltimore, she gets threatened about their company's secret compound via Homelander, the glowing symbol of justice and top hero of the Seven, may seem clean, unlike the other supes. But behind the smiles, he quietly obliterates the plane of the same mayor who threatened Stillwell. After trapping Translucent, Butcher and Hughie go to Serge, aka Frenchie, for help. As Butcher's old colleague Frenchie helps them figure out how to end an indestructible supe, Frenchie tries all sorts of weapons, even making some of them himself. While the trio scrambles for a way to crack Translucent's armored skin, Hughie wrestles with the reality of what he just joined. Meanwhile, Starlight partners with Deep for a PR patrol and stands up to his smugness after exposing his lies. Despite the friction, they finish their job with cameras filming Starlight's debut work as part of the Seven. At Vought, Homelander notices Translucent's absence and starts looking for him. Starlight, meanwhile, goes rogue and saves a woman from assault, only to get scolded by Ashley, the director of talent relations, for ruining their image. Back with the trio, Frenchie eventually comes up with an idea. He rigs a bomb, putting it inside Translucent. Realizing their plan, Translucent gives up information about A-Train, talking about Popclaw, a supe who's dating A-Train. Ignoring him, Butcher decides to end him. But before they can detonate it, Homelander appears nearby. Butcher and Frenchie go out to distract Homelander, leaving Hughie with the detonator and to watch over Translucent. While they successfully distract Homelander, their plan nearly backfires when Translucent finds a way to escape. Translucent talks his way out, but pushes Hughie beyond his limit, so Hughie makes the call and detonates the bomb, finally taking Translucent out. Frenchie and Butcher deal with the cleanup while Hughie copes with his actions. Butcher places the indestructible pieces of Translucent in a zinc luggage and sets the place on fire. Meanwhile, things light up for Starlight when the woman who was assaulted speaks up for her. But Vought's marketing team forces her to undergo an intense image makeover that is totally unlike her. Back to the boys, Butcher needs more people and recruits back Marvin T. Milk, aka Mother's Milk or MM. Due to their past, MM and Frenchie argue about Frenchie messing up a previous job that involves Mallory's grandkids. At Butcher's urging, they settle down and focus on tracking Popclaw. Using his expertise, Hughie and MM enter Popclaw's home and successfully access her computer to track her movements. On their way out, they cross paths with A-Train, who has no recollection of who Hughie is. Inside Popclaw's home, A-Train worries about his upcoming super speed race against another Supe. A-Train wants to use Compound Vibe to power himself up, despite this being the same reason for Robin's death. In the race event, the boys try to take A-Train's Compound 5, with Hughie even distracting Annie, aka Starlight. At the same time, Frenchie tries and fails to snag the Compound 5 because A-Train already used it to secure the title of the fastest Supe. In Vought, they continue manipulating politics through deceit. Later, they discover Translucent's remains and a threatening message inside the luggage. Elsewhere, Popclaw is frustrated with being sidelined. She injects herself with Compound Vibe and accidentally crushes her landlord's skull. The boys catch it all on camera and use it to threaten her and gain information on Compound V. Based on Popclaw's information, the boys track a noodle shop tied to Compound V and stumble on a secret lab that has imprisoned a mute girl. Frenchie frees her, but she brutally ends her captors and escapes. After they plan to look for the mute girl, Butcher pressures Hughie to keep dating Starlight and bug her phone, which Hughie guiltily does during their bowling date. Meanwhile, A-Train finds the noodle shop is compromised and accuses Popclaw of it. Popclaw denies telling anything to others. Elsewhere, Frenchie finds the mute girl. Feeling a sense of connection, he tries to earn her trust. However, she runs away again. Covering his tracks, A-Train hunts the mute girl down, nearly catching her. But the boys create a distraction, making it possible for them to approach the mute girl. While Butcher wants to clean things up, Frenchie suggests she might be a new addition to their team. And so, Butcher throws a sleeping gas at them. Meanwhile, Stillwell sends Homelander and Queen Maeve to stop a hijacking without anyone else knowing. But when Homelander botches the rescue, he lets the passengers die. Later, Homelander gives a bold speech, spinning it into a political rallying cry to place Supes in the military, while Maeve silently mourns everyone who died because of their failure. Elsewhere, A-Train ends Popclaw after learning who she told about Compound 5. Apparently, he did this under Homelander's orders. While Frenchie is left to watch over the mute girl, the others infiltrate a Christian expo to corner Ezekiel, a Supe with stretching power. There, Hughie manages to infiltrate a VIP gathering. Once alone with Ezekiel, Hughie threatens him into revealing that Compound 5 is being smuggled into hospitals. Meanwhile, A-Train searches Popclaw's place, finding a clue leading him to Frenchie. Later on the expo stage, Starlight breaks from the script, exposing a dark past, shocking everyone. Hughie comforts her, revealing his own vulnerability, which helps them grow closer. Based on Ezekiel's information, Butcher and MM raid a hospital and discover babies being dosed with Compound V, proving Supes are made, not born. Elsewhere, Frenchie's cover is blown. He frees the mute girl, who quickly leaves on her own. As Frenchie goes out, Black Noir ambushes him. Before anything could happen, the mute girl jumps in to save Frenchie, nearly dying during the battle. When Frenchie checks on her, he discovers she's a Supe who can regenerate. While Vought films feel-good promos to sell the Seven to the military, Starlight threatens to expose Deep and ruin Vought. To deal with this, Stillwell makes Deep confess his assault on Starlight, and soon, the fish guy leaves the limelight. Meanwhile, Hughie's deepening feelings for Annie clash with Butcher's growing mistrust. To fix this, Butcher reveals how Homelander forced himself on his wife Becca, and how this led her to go missing 8 years ago. Elsewhere, Frenchie ropes in MM to communicate with their mute member by contacting Mesmer, a washed-up Supe who can read minds. After meeting Mesmer, they discover her name is Kimiko, and her dark past as a child forced her to become a soldier for the Shining Light Liberation Army. Meanwhile, Butcher visits his old colleague, CIA Deputy Director Susan Rayner. Presenting her with Compound V, he demands support for his team. Susan agrees, except for Butcher's demand to prosecute Homelander. With such a deal-breaker, Butcher decides that his team will take down Vought their way. Later, Mesmer betrays the boys and informs Homelander of them. Meanwhile, flashbacks reveal Becca worked as Vaught's digital marketing senior director. When she disappeared, Grace Mallory approached Butcher, showing him evidence of Homelander's involvement in Becca's disappearance. Back to the present, Hughie and Annie's relationship gets to the next level. But Annie is betrayed when she learns from Homelander that Hughie is involved in Translucent's death. Upon learning the boys' identities, A-Train threatens Hughie's dad, but Kimiko arrives just in time time to break A-Train's leg. With their places compromised, they determine that Mesmer betrayed them. Butcher immediately searches for Mesmer, permanently finishing him. Elsewhere, Homelander visits Vought's former chief scientist, Jonah Vogelbaum. Vogelbaum calls Homelander John, revealing that Becca had John's child, and both died during delivery. Their talk reveals that John was raised in a lab among doctors. Back to the boys, Hughie's dad and MM's family are brought to their location for protection. MM urges Butcher to take the CIA deal for everyone's sake. Butcher finally relents, placing their families under the CIA's protection while Butcher gives the compound Vi. Later, Raynor uses their intel to pressure Vought, but a bigger problem arises when a Supe extremist appears. Meanwhile, Annie contacts Hughie. Upon meeting, Hughie reveals the truth about Compound V. Before they can settle, Butcher crashes the meetup and shoots Annie. Later, Raynor calls Butcher about the Supe extremists and how the boys are now fugitives because of Translucent's death. To deal with this, Butcher visits Grace Mallory with Hughie. Refusing to get involved, Mallory hints that Stillwell may know Homelander's weakness. While gone, the rest of the boys get attacked and taken. Butcher notices this. With different priorities, Butcher and Hughie split up. Butcher intends to deal with Homelander, while Hughie wants to save the others. Hughie goes to Annie for help, but Annie refuses. So, Hughie prepares and purposely gets caught. Upon meeting the others, Hughie gives them his old retainer to pick the lock. They successfully get out, but soon get cornered. Just when it seems hopeless, Starlight arrives, dealing with their captors. However, A-Train suddenly appears. During their fight, A-Train collapses from a heart attack. Instead of leaving, Hughie tries to resuscitate him. Seeing this, Annie tells him to go, and she'll deal with it. At Stillwell's house, Butcher straps her with explosives. But Homelander arrives and deals with her himself. Seeing this, Butcher triggers the bomb anyway and gets knocked out. The first season ends with Butcher waking up on a suburban lawn where he finds Homelander, Becca, and a child with glowing red eyes. Season 2 begins with Butcher gone, while the rest of the boys are hiding and wanted for Stillwell's death. Annie continues her role as Starlight, even singing for Translucent's funeral. But right after the facade, she secretly meets Hughie, who gives her a tip on Gecko, a Supe who can regrow limbs. Gecko's access to Vought's labs will help them take a Compound Vi sample. Meanwhile, the boys learn that one shipment goes wrong in Frenchie's business. A Supe extremist with deadly telekinetic powers is now loose in the city. Kimiko finds an origami in the wreckage, and since then, she keeps on writing boy on paper. But Frenchie and the others can't understand what she wants to say. Elsewhere, Deep gets introduced to the Church of the Collective, inciting a redemption arc for him. At Vought, Stillwell gets replaced by Ashley at Homelander's recommendation, and then there's also Translucent's replacement, Stormfront, exuding chaotic Gen Z energy. Stunned by Stormfront, Homelander asserts dominance over Vought CEO Stan Edgar, only to be told Homelander's just a lab product and that Compound Feeve is the real prize. With the boys falling apart, they meet up with Raynor, who confirms Vought is staging an inside coup, but her head explodes mid-convo. The boys quickly leave, threatened by an unknown Supe. Just as things spiral out of control, Butcher casually returns. To solve their mess, Butcher approaches Mallory for help. Despite Hughie's doubts, Butcher tells the boys that Mallory will clear their records if they catch the Supe extremist. Elsewhere, Homelander tries to bond with his son Ryan, terrifying Becca by insisting he's not leaving. At Vought, Stormfront's brash attitude shakes things up, and Starlight stays undercover, even as A-Train wakes up from his coma. When Starlight receives a Compound Vi sample from Gecko, A-Train threatens her, but she turns it against him, reminding him of Popclaw. Meanwhile, the boys go on a hunting mission, but they soon learn that the Supe extremist is Kimiko's brother, Kenji. Prioritizing her brother, the siblings escape. However, as Kimiko talks to him about joining the boys or leaving everything behind, Kenji turns against her. They fight, and Kimiko subdues him. Just then, the boys locate them to take them back. The next day, the Compound Fee secret goes public, and Vought starts scrambling without knowing it is all Annie's doing. Elsewhere, Homelander tries to force out Ryan's powers, but it backfires. Becca quickly checks on Ryan. Noticing that Ryan's fine, Homelander argues with Becca. Seeing this, Ryan screams, eyes glowing, and shoves Homelander to the ground, making Homelander go away. Meanwhile, the boys head offshore to meet Mallory's contact, but a police helicopter closes in on them. Kenji cuts loose and brings it down. Back in Vought, Homelander decides they'll deal with the Supe extremists themselves. Meanwhile, despite Deep's suspension, he joins the hunt for the Supe extremists by attacking them with sharks and a whale. However, Butcher plows straight into it. Escaping to land, the boys head to the sewers. Soon, the rest of the 7 arrive moving separately. Starlight and Homelander find Hughie. To test Starlight's loyalty, Homelander commands her to finish him. Before things worsen, Butcher appears, and Kenji saves them all by collapsing the tunnel. Kenji runs for it, but Stormfront hunts him down. She even finishes innocent bystanders during the chase and mercilessly ends Kenji, revealing her horrifying, prejudiced nature. Though Homelander is furious about her stealing his thunder, Vought spins it into a PR win, parading Stormfront as a hero. They even drop the Compound V problem as Stillwell's responsibility. Returning to their base, the boys watch the news while Kimiko's grief turns into rage. Later, Mallory gives Butcher a lead to check on Liberty, a Supe back from the 70s, and Becca's location. With this information, Butcher sneaks into a private compound and finds Becca. But things don't go as planned, for Becca refuses to leave without Ryan. In Vought, Black Noir actively looks for Butcher, while A-Train gets removed from the Seven. Homelander outs Queen Maeve's relationship with Elena in a talk show, threatening their safety. As for the other Supes in the Seven, Stormfront fuels chaos online, making Homelander grow jealous of her rising popularity. To deal with the stress, Homelander visits Doppelganger disguised as Stillwell, but even that doesn't last, for Homelander ends the guy. Meanwhile, Hughie, and Annie team up to track down Liberty, a long-missing Supe. On their journey, Annie and Hughie reconnect. Soon, the trio finds a woman who reveals Liberty left her brother in cold blood and that Liberty is now Stormfront, who somehow hasn't aged since the 70s. Back at Vought, the Seven shoot for a movie showcasing Queen Maeve's gender, girls getting it done, and A-Train leaving the team. Returning to Butcher, he reels from Becca's rejection and visits his Aunt Judy, while Frenchie discovers Kimiko doing paid hits to cope with Kenji's death. And Hughie follow Butcher to his aunt's house. However, Black Noir, who is actively searching for Butcher, appears right after. Butcher tries to face him alone, but and Hughie step in. Obviously losing, Butcher threatens to leak photos of Becca and Ryan. Just when Black Noir nearly end Butcher, a call from Edgar halts him. Edgar and Butcher make a deal, and Black Noir backs off. Elsewhere, Deep gets married to someone that the Church of Collective chose for him. Later, Maeve visits Deep and recruits him for her eventual rebellion. At Vought, Starlight snoops around Stormfront's computer, learns of Sage Grove, and confirms that Stormfront is Liberty. Meanwhile, Homelander's popularity tanks after intruding on a protest led by Congresswoman Victoria Newman, but Stormfront rescues his image through memes. Stormfront eventually seduces Homelander, making their relationship progress on a different path. Later, Annie joins the boys in infiltrating Sage Grove, a Vought facility testing Compound V on adults. Hughie, Butcher, and Annie remain outside while the others head in. There, they discover an old member of the Seven, Lamplighter, working as a nurse, torching uncooperative patients and following orders from Stormfront. In their encounter, one of the patients, Cindy, escapes and unleashes chaos. Outside, another patient escapes, gravely injuring Hughie. While saving Hughie, Butcher and Starlight unexpectedly bond. The others barely make it out, but they do with Lamplighter's help. Meanwhile, Homelander and Stormfront team up. But Stormfront's mask soon drops at Homelander's doubts. She admits she's over a century-old, German, originally married to the Vought founder, and she's Vought's first successful Supe. Stormfront pitches Homelander the ultimate plan for a pure Supe army. When she adds that she loves him, it seals the deal for Homelander. Elsewhere, Deep helps Maeve retrieve a digital device from the airplane incident. She plots to threaten Homelander with it. Besides helping Maeve, Deep reaches out to A-Train, inviting him to join the Church of the Collective. As for one of the patients, Cindy, she successfully escapes the facility. Now with Lamplighter, the boys meet Mallory's contact, Congresswoman Victoria Newman. After talking, Lamplighter prepares to testify against Vought, but they need more proof. Meanwhile, Annie is captured and branded a traitor on live TV, prompting Hughie to break her out with Lamplighter's help. But Lamplighter's guilt makes him do the unthinkable, triggering the fire alarm. This forces Hughie to improvise. With the active, glaring fire alarm, Annie escapes her prison using her powers. As she tries to leave, Black Noir nearly ends her, but Maeve saves Annie by triggering Black Noir's allergy. Later, Annie and Hughie meet inside the Seven Tower and make their escape. Elsewhere, Homelander and Stormfront manipulate Ryan into distrusting Becca. Earning her son's distrust, Becca is left alone when the three Supes fly off. Meanwhile, and Mallory fail to convince Vogelbaum to testify, so Butcher does what he's best at, forcing people. With a smile, he threatens Vogelbaum into testifying. Later, at the congressional hearing, just as Vogelbaum prepares to speak, heads begin exploding, including his. After the mayhem, Annie tries to get help from Maeve, who refuses. However, A-Train helps by leaking evidence of Stormfront's past. Meanwhile, Becca escapes and reunites with Butcher, begging him to save Ryan. This pushes Butcher to enter a shady deal with Edgar. Later, Stormfront's past goes public, while Homelander gets distracted by a Vought-made sonic weapon. With them busy, the boys take Ryan back. Butcher breaks his deal with Edgar, urging his wife to escape with Ryan, but Stormfront suddenly returns. The boys keep Stormfront busy, but the guys aren't able to do much. Kimiko, Annie, and Maeve's sudden appearance proves that girls get it done. However, Stormfront escapes, flying to where Butcher, Becca, and Ryan are. Seeing his mom get hurt, Ryan unleashes his powers. He gravely injures Stormfront, but accidentally hits his mother. Butcher shouts for help, but Becca tells him it isn't Ryan's fault. She makes Butcher promise to keep Ryan safe before breathing her last. Homelander arrives late, and Ryan sides with Butcher. Maeve arrives before Homelander can do anything, forcing him to back down using the plane crash footage. Things soon settle with Vought deflecting blame by pinning everything on Stormfront. Starlight and A-Train rejoin the Seven, but Deep remains out. Meanwhile, Butcher places Ryan under Mallory's protection. Elsewhere, Newman pops the head of the Church of the Collective. Unexpectedly, the second season ends with Hughie applying for a job in Victoria Newman's team. In season 3, Hughie now works for Newman, even close enough to call them friends. Meanwhile, the boys get assigned work against Supes. On his free days, Butcher visits Ryan and plays with him. As for the Supes, Homelander's star power is fading while Starlight's popularity surges. This prompts Edgar to name her co-captain of the Seven, enraging Homelander. Aside from hero work, Starlight now judges in an American hero show to recruit the next heroes of the Seven. One of the contestants is Starlight's old flame, Supersonic, much to Hughie's jealousy. Homelander, meanwhile, visits a half-dead Stormfront to relieve stress. However, unknown to others, Maeve secretly arms Butcher with temporary VC, aka V24, and intel on Soldier Boy, America's greatest superhero whose mysterious death may be the key to ending Homelander. Meanwhile, Hughie uncovers his boss's secret. Victoria Newman's real name is Nadia, and she is the head popper. Going back to the boys, they start investigating around Soldier Boy. MM can't stay away because of the Supe's involvement. Meanwhile, Frenchie and Kimiko visit Soldier Boy's ex, Crimson Countess, whose rampage slays a civilian. As for Butcher, he visits Soldier Boy's old team member, Gunpowder. Butcher nearly gets done for, so he takes V24 and gains powers of strength and laser eyes. Overpowering the Supe, Butcher learns Soldier Boy's death is linked to Mallory and the CIA before he lasers Gunpowder. Meanwhile, Hughie investigates Newman's past and finds proof that she's a Supe raised by Edgar, the current head of Vought. Devastated, Hughie admits everything to Annie and Butcher. Soon, Homelander's birthday arrives, but he's unhappy. Stormfront is dead, and Starlight is stealing his spotlight. When forced to play nice during a Vought event, Homelander finally snaps, publicly ranting that he's the real hero. Unexpectedly, Homelander's public meltdown makes him popular. With his approval ratings up, he pushes back, demanding that Deep rejoins them. Starlight resists, but Homelander threatens global destruction if she leaks the flight footage. Meanwhile, Butcher suffers from the side effects of taking V24. With MM and Hughie rejoining the boys, Hughie willingly gets injured to skip work. Later, they learn the truth from Mallory. In the past, the Supe group called Payback, led by Soldier Boy, caused a massacre in Nicaragua, and Soldier Boy didn't die. The Russians took him. Soon after, Mallory argues with Butcher. His frustration overflows, making him purposely break Ryan's heart. Elsewhere, Frenchie's past catches up to him when Russian mobster Nina demands Sherry's location. When Butcher learns this, he tells Frenchie to connect her, for they'll go to Russia. Meanwhile, the American hero show continues, confirming that Supersonic and Deep will complete the Seven, but it doesn't end there. Homelander declares he and Starlight are a couple. Trying to remain strong, Starlight plays along. With the return of his confidence, Homelander seizes power at Vought. To betray Edgar, he forces Newman to turn on her mentor. She does this to get her hands on a Compound 5 that'll turn her daughter into a Supe. As for Starlight, Homelander ends her ex Supersonic and uses this to threaten her to obey, or Hughie's next. Meanwhile, with Nina's help, the boys head to Russia. To prepare for the fight, Butcher takes another dose of V24. Hughie sees this and secretly takes one himself, instantly healing his broken arm. During the mission, the two use their powers. Unlike Butcher, Hughie unlocks teleportation. However, instead of getting a super slaying weapon, they find Soldier Boy alive. To escape, Soldier Boy blasts Kimiko with a mysterious energy that stops her from regenerating. The boys soon return from Russia. MM doesn't like the others using V24, but the two are honest about how it made them feel good. At Vought, Homelander takes over by making Deep the head of crime analytics, while Ashley becomes the CEO. Meanwhile, Hughie honestly tells Annie about Russia and V24. Later, Maeve visits Butcher, secretly supplying more V24. The two spend the night together after drinking, but the following day, Homelander makes Black Noir take Maeve. Starlight notices Maeve missing and asks Ashley about it. Ashley almost answers, but she aggressively claims she's the CEO. Meanwhile, A-Train rebrands and addresses discrimination via the other Supe, Blue Hawk, who was lately slightly showing prejudiced actions. However, Blue Hawk's supposed apology to their community turns violent, leaving A-Train's brother paralyzed. In the hospital, Kimiko is still recovering from the grave wound she got from Soldier Boy. She doesn't feel too bad about it, and even feels relieved about not regenerating. However, Frenchie suddenly gets taken by Nina. Soon, Soldier Boy makes it to NYC. With him on the loose, he unleashes a deadly chest blast, finishing off civilians. The rest of the boys track him down, determining that he'll go after his old colleagues. So they visit Crimson Countess, using her as bait. Despite MM's apparent hate, Butcher makes a deal with Soldier Boy to team up. Once Soldier Boy and Crimson Countess meet, she confesses to betraying him willingly, and Soldier Boy ends her in rage. Later, Annie learns the truth that they're planning to make Soldier Boy their weapon against Homelander. Despite pleading with Hughie not to go, Hughie leaves her to join Butcher and Soldier Boy. Elsewhere, Kimiko is taken by Nina's people. When Nina forces Frenchie to choose between Kimiko and Cherie, Kimiko proves she doesn't need powers to survive. Soon, Vought learns that Soldier Boy is alive, and Homelander decides to end him. However, A-Train is occupied with the Blue Hawk issue, while Black Noir suddenly disappears. It is up to Deep to investigate Soldier Boy, leading him to the annual party where Supes indulge in all kinds of vices. Meanwhile, Butcher clarifies that he wants Soldier Boy to deal with Homelander in exchange for them helping him. Soon, the three of them track down his former teammates, the TNT twins, who helped betray him. Butcher and Hughie don't hesitate to use V24 for the upcoming fight. With the others gone, Annie teams up with MM to infiltrate the same party. At the party, Deep gets busy with an octopus, while A-Train confronts Blue Hawk. A-Train gets revenge by dragging Blue Hawk to death, at the cost of another heart attack. Later, Soldier Boy finds the twins and unleashes an explosion, ending the twins and injuring multiple Supes attending the party. Homelander then arrives and brawls with Soldier Boy, Butcher, and Hughie. Overwhelmed, Homelander retreats for the first time. In the aftermath, Annie exposes everything about Homelander, Soldier Boy, and Vought via live stream and quits the Seven in front of the world. Soon, Soldier Boy hunts Mindstorm, another former colleague whose power traps people in a nightmare until their death. Despite knowing this, Butcher gets trapped. It is only broken when Hughie forces Mindstorm to save Butcher, right before Soldier Boy brutally ends his old teammate. Elsewhere, Noir hides, tormented by memories of Soldier Boy's abuse and betrayal as portrayed by cartoons. In a hospital, A-Train survives his heart attack and wakes up with a new heart that they got from Blue Hawk. As for the boys, Frenchie and injured Kimiko rejoin the team. While Frenchie figures out how to knock Soldier Boy out, Annie risks it all to get Compound Vibe and help Kimiko reclaim her powers. At a political campaign, Homelander feeds people more lies. When he comes across Annie and Vought, Homelander threatens her. However, Annie is secretly live streaming him, making everyone know the truth of Supersonic's death. During Annie's trip to Vought, Annie discovers Temp 5 is lethal after taking 3 to 5 doses. She warns Butcher, but he doesn't share this with Hughie, keeping them both on track. With a Compound V, Kimiko soon regains her power. Back at Vought, Homelander receives a call from Soldier Boy, who reveals that he is Homelander's biological father. Later, Homelander finds Ryan and regains his trust. Black Noir returns to Vought, but knowing the truth all along makes Homelander finish him. With barely anyone to rely on, Homelander instructs Deep to end a VP candidate, making Newman the replacement. Elsewhere, Butcher tries to stop Hughie's involvement by knocking him out. Annie soon comes for Hughie, and they reconcile. Meanwhile, Maeve escapes, joining the boys. They then go to stop Soldier Boy. But once there, Maeve sides with Butcher and throws the neurotoxin Frenchie created to stop Soldier Boy. Leaving them, Maeve, Butcher, and Soldier Boy head to Vought. There, Homelander introduces Ryan to his father, hoping to unite his family. But Soldier Boy calls Homelander a disappointment and nearly blasts Ryan, until Butcher and Maeve step in to protect the kid. Maeve fights Homelander, while Butcher faces Soldier Boy. Annie and the others soon join. Hughie guides civilians out of Vought, and Annie fights alongside Butcher. Annie powers up with Hughie's help, and the team doses Soldier Boy with a newly made neurotoxin. But it's not enough, and Soldier Boy begins to explode. Realizing this, Maeve sacrifices herself, leaping out a window with Soldier Boy mid-blast. With Soldier Boy gone, Homelander and Ryan leave, while Butcher collapses from V24's effects. Later, he learns he has less than 2 years to live. Meanwhile, the news report says Maeve is dead, but in reality, she survived. Unexpectedly, Ashley deletes the evidence of Maeve's survival. With Maeve's superhero identity gone, she chooses to be with Elena. Elsewhere, Soldier Boy's body is again put to sleep. As Homelander embraces his true self by finishing a rally protester, Season 3 ends with Ryan smiling. The 4th season kicks off with the boys trying and failing to finish Victoria Newman at a campaign event. Turns out she's invulnerable, and her daughter became a Supe too. During their mission, Kimiko loses an arm and even falls from a tall building, but shrugs it off. As for Newman, she lets the boys go. Meanwhile, Vought looks into possible recruits for the Seven since Homelander's surrounded by yes people. Though worrying about aging, Homelander recruits Sister Sage, the smartest person alive, to fix his image. And in a CIA visit, Butcher meets an old colleague, Joe Kessler. Later, Butcher's knowledge about Newman's experiments at Godolkin gets them a truce. But in exchange, Butcher must take Hughie's evidence containing Newman's weakness. Meanwhile, Hughie's dad collapses and his long-lost mom, Daphne, shows up. Elsewhere, Annie's supporters call themselves the Starlighters, and they're in constant altercation against the home teamers. During a mission, the rest of the boys discover a fake riot staged by Sage to turn the public against the Starlighters. Meanwhile, Butcher, haunted by Becca, chooses not to betray Hughie, sending Newman a disgusting pic instead. Elsewhere, Black Noir 2 talks, revealing that he's a stand-in still adjusting to his role. In the hospital, Hughie clashes with his estranged mom over the power of attorney for his dad, and finally expresses his feelings about her leaving them. Later, Butcher reveals he's dying to the boys. For his sake, MM kicks him out of the team. Soon, the boys crash a conspiracy-fueled Vought event, where MM beats down Butcher for going rogue. There, they tail Sage as she meets various Supes, who later corner the boys. Sage instructs the recruits to finish the boys as a trial and leaves. However, the boys prove themselves lethal despite their lack of superpowers. They survive, and only Firecracker makes it out from the Supe's side. Meanwhile, A-Train makes amends by providing Annie and Hughie with evidence to clear the names of 2 confined Starlighters. At Vought, Sage reshapes Ryan's image while Homelander quietly panics over losing the spotlight. But during Ryan's staged rescue, he accidentally ends his stunt coach. Despite feeling bad, Homelander forces Ryan to smile through the guilt. At a Vought rally, Homelander introduces the new 7 members, Firecracker and Sister Sage, while forcing Ryan into the spotlight. Meanwhile, Butcher secretly invites Ryan over and almost sedates him. However, he stops his attempt after they share a real conversation that reconnects them. Elsewhere, MM approaches a train, trying to get his help, while Kimiko targets a shining light base with Frenchie. As for the others, Annie confronts Firecracker and uncovers a bitter grudge rooted in childhood pageants, while Hughie finally talks properly with his mom. Later, during an infiltration mission, Hughie overhears Homelander, Sage, and Newman planning a political power play. Homelander almost catches him, but Hughie manages to escape thanks to A-Train. At Vought, Sage seduces Deep to keep him in check, revealing her power to regenerate her brain no matter how much damage it takes. Meanwhile, Homelander becomes increasingly unstable. He ends a staffer mid-interrogation and suffers a full-on mental breakdown after Ryan mentions Butcher. Later, Homelander listens to his darkest self, telling him to go home. So Homelander visits the secret Vought lab where he was raised. There, he deals with the entire staff, forcing one to burn and another to relive past humiliation. As for the boss, who reveals that John was conditioned to crave approval, Homelander leaves her locked in with the corpses of her colleagues. Elsewhere, Kimiko accompanies Hughie. He meets and begs A-Train for Compound 5 to save his dying dad. Once A-Train leaves, Shining Light members ambush them. The two fight to survive and escape, leaving only a single enemy whom Kimiko once knew. Meanwhile, in front of Starlighter's base, Vought sets up a live stream stage for Firecracker. Planned by Sage, Firecracker airs out Starlight's darkest secrets to the public. Annie snaps and beats Firecracker in front of everyone. MM soon arrives, stopping Annie. At the same time, Frenchie gets caught by Ezekiel snooping around in Firecracker's RV. Butcher arrives in time to save him, but he himself gets a beating and blacks out. When Butcher regains consciousness, Ezekiel is already in pieces, clearly dead. Meanwhile, A-Train secretly takes a Compound 5 for Hughie, clearing their bad past. But once at the hospital, Hughie hesitates using it. However, when he leaves for a moment and returns, his dad mysteriously revives, thanks to Hughie's mom, who may have injected it herself. The day of Vought's Fan Expo arrives. Aside from movies, they introduce Supes like Tech Knight and recruits from Godolkin, Kate Dunlap and Sam Reardon. Yep, they're the same Kate and Sam from the TV series Gen V. During the event, A-Train forces Ashley to help him cover his tracks. Surprisingly, Ashley delivers by framing her ex-partner, Cameron Coleman, a news anchor. So, the 7 ends him at Homelander's command. Meanwhile, Hughie confronts his mom for secretly injecting Compound Vi into his dad. At first, Hugh Sr. seems fine, until he starts walking through walls and accidentally hurting people. When he threatens Daphne, Hughie makes the heartbreaking choice to end his dad. Back to the rest of the boys, Butcher has intel about Godolkin and a virus that can end Supes. So, he and MM visit Edgar in prison, offering freedom in exchange for a lead on the Supe virus. Edgar joins them, helping them find the lab, where they also meet Newman. With no one else there, everyone soon heads to a farm area where they encounter super-powered farm animals and the only survivor, Samir Shah. On top of being a scientist, Samir is Newman's lover and the father of their child, Zoe. Once they deal with the Supe farm animals, Samir disappears, with only a leg left behind. Edgar is sent back to confinement, but Newman moves to let him escape. The mission made Frenchie's mind night shift. Wrecked by guilt, he walks into a police station to confess to his past crimes. Later, it appears that Butcher secretly hid Samir, forcing him to recreate the Supe virus. With the death of Hughie's father, he scatters his dad's ashes with family and friends. Though Butcher is MIA, the boys crash Tech Knight's elite party. Hughie goes undercover in Webweaver's suit until Tech Knight's twisted interests and Ashley's involvement blow his cover. Annie, Kimiko, and MM sneak in to rescue Hughie. While Annie encounters Firecracker, MM and Kimiko find Sage. The boys silently handle things, but when MM shoots Sage's head, it causes him to have a panic attack. Kimiko calls A-Train for help, and the other sends MM to the hospital. Back at the party, Annie and Kimiko find Hughie and easily deal with Tech Knight. They try making him talk, but when torture doesn't work, the team drains Tech Knight's bank account, forcing him to reveal a dark plan with Homelander to turn his prisons into internment camps. Meanwhile, it's time to speak to the elites. Homelander, lacking Sage's backup, nearly crumbles, but Newman steps in and wins them to her side. Later, Firecracker earns Homelander's twisted affection by producing milk. As for the others, Frenchie remains in prison, while Butcher learns that he's hallucinating Kessler, and he's the one who actually dealt with Ezekiel. Butcher soon returns to the boys, along with a forcefully released Frenchie. Butcher reveals that he has Samir, and the virus will only be used as a last resort. Later, Butcher, Hughie, and Annie follow a clue that leads them straight to a shapeshifter who escapes them. Meanwhile, Kimiko and Frenchie watch Samir create a Supe virus. However, Samir shockingly stabs Kimiko with it and escapes. To save Kimiko, Frenchie cuts her leg. With Samir gone, Frenchie must recreate the virus based on what they have. Back at the boys' office, Deep and Black Noir, too, suddenly attack Butcher and Annie. They're unexpectedly saved by A-Train, who gets exposed as the leak. Realizing this, A-Train asks Ashley to flee with him, but she refuses. At Vought, Firecracker comforts Homelander, while Sage claims everything was all according to plan. But Homelander doesn't believe Sage and fires her on the spot. Meanwhile, Vought airs a twisted Christmas special starring Ryan. He halts the entire show and speaks from the heart on live TV. Butcher proudly watches before suddenly collapsing. Elsewhere, Annie gets ambushed by a shapeshifter and locked away, while the imposter seduces Hughie and accesses his laptop, deleting evidence of Newman's weakness. Soon, the result of the elections arrives and all hell breaks loose when Homelander reveals that Newman is a Supe. With the shapeshifter on the loose and the lack of Supe virus, the boys can only choose to defend and stop assassination attempts on President-elect Singer, not knowing the shapeshifter has already infiltrated. Elsewhere, real Annie finally breaks free. She heads to where the boys are and defeats the shapeshifter. When they returned, Frenchie finally finished the virus. Meanwhile, Ryan visits Butcher, but he ends up turning against them after Mallory attempts to sedate him. Ryan ends her in the process and leaves. As for Newman, her desperation leads her to contact Hughie. While they negotiate, Butcher arrives. He uses his powers, brutally finishes Newman, and officially breaks away from the boys. At Vought, there's an ongoing manhunt to finish anyone who has dirt on them. Ashley saves herself by taking in Compound Vi. Later, Sage visits Homelander and reveals her master plan to frame the boys and Singer for Newman's death. This turns the tables, and soon, Homelander is named the National Enforcer under martial law. Later, Supes ambushes the boys as they try to leave. Kate alters Frenchie's memory, Sam detains Kimiko with his super strength, Love Sausage, that recurring disgusting Supe we try not to mention, knocks out MMM, Cindy crashes Hughie and Annie's escape. Annie barely gets away using her powers. Alone, Butcher drives off with the virus, still hallucinating Kessler. At the last part of Season 4, Homelander finds Soldier Boy in cryo. Fight isn't over, but hey, congrats! You just survived the Boys Seasons 1 to 4 without getting lasered or blown to bits. When Season 5 drops, we're diving headfirst, probably without a parachute. So please leave us a like, subscribe, click that notifications button, and drop your theories and Season 5 predictions in the comments.